right, a little fall camping. We've decided to venture back into Georgia again this fall. Heard a lot about Tallulah Gorge State Park, so we booked this back in, I think it was January or February. Once we finished all the South Carolina state parks, started looking at some Georgia parks, and it did not disappoint.
No, it's gorgeous.
So hope you enjoy this video and check it all out. Once we got all of the South Carolina parks finished, we started venturing into Georgia, and Tallulah Gorge has kind of been on my list that I wanted ever since I was in school at Clemson. I heard about how beautiful this area is. I love the mountains.
And then fall in the mountains. I mean, you can't hardly beat it with the colors. And
now, it's a little bit of a far trip for us. Took us about 5 hours or so to drive here. So we wanted to make sure that we did this on a long weekend. It happened to be Veterans Day weekend, which was pretty neat. We did not realize that the one special thing about this particular weekend is it's one of only 6 where there are kayakers that kayak the gorge. So that was kind of neat and unexpected.
So the little bit of history of the gorge is it is a hydroelectric dam controlled by Georgia Power. So obviously it doesn't have kayak or, you know, full gobs of water all the time. So they do have specific weekends. I think we usually wear kayak loosely. Like, we kayak. We have a kayak. We go out in a kayak. These are as close to professional kayakers. I mean, they're going over rock, waterfall type. Like, this isn't a paddle. You're, you know, paddle the river, paddle the Edisto.
Right. This is, turns out that on many weekends they have what they call an aesthetic opening of the river, where they allow, I think, about 200 cubic feet per minute of water to come out, so that it takes good, pretty pictures. On kayaking, kayaking weekends, it's 600 to 700 cubic feet per minute. So it's considerably,
which is enough to get people over all that rock. And
right.
But also she said on weekends, the ranger that we talked to, other weekends that there's only the normal little bit or lower levels is when you could go down to the basin floor, and that is very limited. There are special ranger tours and things that you can try. You really need to kind of plan and book on that, make sure you're up early to do it. It's very dependent on weather. It's very dependent on season, but it's supposed to be amazing. And also, it's 1,099 steps.
Yes.
Like, steps as in not in walking steps, as in like staircase steps.
Yeah, we thought of planning it out, looking at the All Trails app. I had intended on doing the rim loop, which we walk along the north rim, you go down the stairs, cross a footbridge, then back upstairs, and then you walk the rim on the south side. What I did not realize was that on the weekend of the kayakers, they closed the south loop or rim, and
only to kayakers.
Only to kayakers. So the kayakers all park up near the dam on the south side, and then they walk that trail all the way down to the bottom where you would normally walk down onto the gorge floor when there's not kayakers. So we got down the steps, got to the bridge, and the gentleman said, "Thanks for coming, you gotta go back."
Go back that way. Which, I mean, if we had thought that through, we would have realized that we'd seen a lot of the same people coming back up.
Yes.
The other way, but it still was a really pretty, it was a very steep, a little challenging staircase down, but it was really pretty, and the suspension bridge was swayier, wobblier than I expected it to be.
It moved more than I thought it was going to, but that's okay.
But it was a suspension bridge. It wasn't a fixed bridge, and the kids really enjoyed it. They did better than I did, I think, on the stairs.
Yeah, we were our age and our weight kind of made
Fitness
it.
level.
But one thing that they also do here periodically is rock climbing. We're not rock climbers, but that was kind of interesting to see.
Yeah. And I would say if you don't feel like your fitness level or your age or your kids' ages, if they were too little to go up and down the steps, the path from the Interpretive Center through to several of the overlooks was not difficult.
Absolutely.
It was very much doable for most any ages, and definitely for littler kids, we would have been comfortable.
Yeah, a lot of it is paved, or it has a rubber
that tire
ground tire packed
thing.
So.
And then like big wide, like the only one place to the overlook where Walinda's tower still stands, or did stand, it's kind of tipped over. It was the steps there were some steps, but they were like those wide plank beams, not the metal steep. And you'll see, I am sure, there's some images of the steepness of those stairs. Which even going up obviously was part of a problem, but going down was a little nerve-wracking, especially because it had been wet and there was a lot of leaves. Maybe in the middle of summer, you wouldn't have felt quite so like, I'm gonna slip and just down the. But we didn't, and I didn't see anybody slip. And the other thing I would say is, any of that trail, like to the overlooks, dog friendly. The trail down to the gorge is not. No pets, no strollers, none of that. So.
The other really neat thing over there, kind of in that area, is the Interpretive Center. The Interpretive Center here is.
It is top notch. It really is.
When you walk in, you actually walk in on the upper floor. There's a little gift shop, and you can check in with the rangers there.
There's like an information
booth.
There's
also an information booth where they can give you a map. And then you kind of go down a little walkway around.
Almost like a ramp, and not like a spiral, but like a little square ramp thing through the exhibits.
Right, and so there's, as you go down, in the middle, there's a diorama of various different wildlife, and then there's just information about the different environments here in the gorge. There's actually 8 separate environments here because of the depth of the gorge. There's the part that's in the sun all the time, there's the part that's in the shade all the time, then you got the bottom.
And then the rocky levels, and then the different almost rainforesty at the bottom. And so each diorama, there was a diorama on each side that was like the two biggest, more distinct ones. So more like what we think of like the mountains, the coyote and the bear and the deers and wolves and those kind of things. And then the other side was more of like Rocky Mountain type stuff with bobcats and hawks and peregrine falcons and things like that.
And then there's also a little theater down there, and every 30 minutes they play a 15-minute video kind of about the history of the area, ecology,
the variety, and as well as like major events, which includes the kayaking.
Yeah, and I find the history here really quite unique. About the late 1800s, this became a travel destination. A number of hotels were built across the top of the gorge, and people used to come in on the railroad and make this a big destination. By the 1920s,
the need for power in Atlanta really spurred the dam and the hydroelectric.
Right, so it kind of waned, and then there was some fires in 1921, and it just kind of sounds like it sort of fell into disrepair, and really just was the dam, and the little town of Tullulah Falls kind of faded away until 1970, when a gentleman decided that he was going to string a cable across the gorge, and he was going to walk across the gorge.
And he did. He tight-roped on a 2-inch tightrope, Mr. Walinda, who was celebrating his 50th year of leading his family's circus tightrope aerial feats.
So they kind of renewed attention to the area. By 1993, they decided to make this a state park, and the Interpretive Center was built in 1996. So in the scheme of things, this is a fairly new park. It's not one of those old
CCC 50s park or old CCC park.
Yeah. So,
but it does have some. It has some CCC feel to it.
Right. The way
some of the structures.
Some of the structures are built with the big timber frame construction. So.
Also interesting enough, there is a flower, the persistent trillium,
Yes.
which the kids learned a lot about in their junior ranger program, but it only exists in the bottom of the gorge, and so also the passes down to the bottom of the gorge to that low level where that plant exists and other wildlife is very limited. It is limited on a good day. It's limited to 100 people, and so kind of first come first serve. But even then, they will cut the passes. They will just not offer them if the weather's been bad. And from what we understand, they've been in a severe drought. We help break that because it rains when we camp, and so it rained almost every day we were here. Friday was really pretty. Friday was really warm and pretty, so we kind of felt like there was something coming.
Yeah.
But to be November, we're all in shorts and t-shirts, and I'm like, there's probably some weather happening. So I mean, they were even under a burn ban during the time we were here. But that persistent trillium only blooms here in the gorge, and so they're very, very protective of it. But the kids learned a lot about it and it's on their junior ranger badge, which is kind of cool. So this is their 4th junior ranger park in Georgia because they do it a little bit different than South Carolina. So that was a lot of fun for them to have a new badge, new opportunity.
So talk a little bit about the campground here. As you come in, it's kind of some tight turns. So I don't think this park is really big rig friendly. Even though our site is pretty long, the turns in here were pretty sharp. I'll take a minute and we'll do a walk around of our site so you can see what Site 43 looked like. We'll do a quick walk around of our Site 43 here at Tallulah Gorge State Park. It's a full pull through, paved, has 50 amp and 30 amp and water, not full hookups. Notice the trees. My slide, we fit just between those trees. And we tried to come over. I'm up about 3 inches on the driver's side. And you see they have the big heavy concrete picnic table and the timbers. It's not a ton of space. But we had plenty of trees, put the hammocks up, and it's plenty long. You can get a nice big rig in here. Kind of get an idea about the neighbors. The neighbors have 6 dogs, so sorry if you hear the barking. And then you see on this side, that's Site 44. There's actually a back end. There's Clara with the dog. There's a series of pull-throughs right here on this little loop. All the rest of them are back in. The pull-throughs are the longer sites, but it's a nice campground. You're a little close. We've got to know our neighbors pretty well. They're big Georgia fans last night.
And I would say they were narrow. I mean, they're long. I mean, some of them are long, some of them are square, but they're very narrow. Like basically, and they also have the giant concrete picnic tables that are kind of ubiquitous in Georgia.
They're rough on little knees and
they're rough on knees, backs, legs. They're and they don't move. You know, you're not going anywhere with them. They are where they are. They do have nice timbers in a good many of them. Most of the road is paved, so the kids for riding bikes. Also, remember to bring your helmets. Georgia,
yep, in Georgia, if you ride
they have to have their helmet when they're riding. But if you're even thinking about coming not in the winter time or in the fall for the foliage, there is a really cool looking swimming area.
Yep.
And there are beach space with like the changing room and all that kind of stuff, and it looked really, really neat. There's a really nice walking trail, mostly paved, always paved from here to there.
Yeah.
Bathrooms, bathhouses along the way. So it's definitely a more modern park, but like you said, I wouldn't bring much bigger rig than we've got in, just because it is. It's a tight circle.
So while we were here, we ventured out a little bit. Like I said, this is a long weekend. As you come across from the Toccoa area, you come in. There's Tallulah 1882 coffee shop.
Highly recommend.
Very unique, eclectic little place.
It appears to be the old train station.
I believe so.
We didn't get confirmation on that, but
It's built like a train.
it looks like a
really
train
old
station on
station.
the outside.
Yeah.
On the inside, it's lots of cool, every chair is different, little nooks and crannies to have your coffee and pastry in. I think they also had sandwiches and frittatas and things.
Yeah, and as the ambulance goes by. That's one thing, there is the main road is just right there. We can actually, from the front of our site, see the road where the dam is and all the kayakers parked up there in that parking lot. We also, just down from there, we went to the General Store, which was another kind of
in downtown.
eclectic. You could tell Tullulah Falls. You could see it's fallen on some.
But it looks like it could be really neat. Like in the summer, it might be fun to come back in the summer. They had their little opera house.
Yeah, it said they had
like
bluegrass every Saturday night
during the summer, well, actually through October. I want to say it was like April to October.
I think so.
There's a big old giant fire pit, obviously not being used right now.
Yeah.
In the center, there's some, almost antique thrifty, not antique fancy, antique thrifty shop. The General Store was really cool. A very big mix of old toys and Tallulah gear, but also there was fudge and there was art and
if you needed something, they had a little bit of some groceries just in case you don't want to ride all the way into Clayton.
But in Clayton, there was Walmart, Home Depot, big giant Dollar General. I mean,
yeah, Clayton is kind of the big town. It's about 11 miles away. Very easy road to get up there.
If you're looking for a breakfast lunch spot in Clayton, we'd be remiss if we did not recommend the Rusty Bike.
The Rusty Bike was fantastic. I got the the prime rib sandwich, which was fantastic.
And I got the Blackbird, which is a blackened chicken that then was fried and smothered in pimento cheese and rusty sauce and on a brioche. But I mean, it was.
And then as we were getting ready to leave, somebody came walking. The lady came walking by with a burger that I had to ask. It was called the Hog Burger. They actually grind up bacon and put it in with the hamburger meat so that it cooks and gives an extra taste.
Extra greasy.
Yeah.
It had onion rings and
it had pimento cheese on top, jalapenos, and then onion rings. So.
And then the kids had like a breakfast all day kind of thing. Brother had the trike, which was like 3 pancakes, eggs, bacon, sausage kind of stuff. Claire had French toast. They also had like a banana bread French toast, which I thought sounded amazing.
And great service. It was just a great little.
It was a neat
place.
atmosphere. They had a fun sign that said, "Our Wi-Fi code is get off your phone." It's a small place, so there was a little bit of a wait, but not super long. Even for the table of like 9, there was like it wasn't that bad for them either.
Definitely recommend that, and we recommend this park if you get a chance to come to Tallulah Gorge. Come check it out.
Put it on your list.
Yeah. Thanks for watching.
Okay. Well, I'm going first.